Hey there, and welcome. So, we live in a world that absolutely worships choice, right? I mean, logic tells us that having more options, well, that's the clear path to happiness. But what if that logic is completely, totally wrong? Today, we are diving headfirst into a really fascinating psychological puzzle, the paradox of choice, and why sometimes more is actually so much less.
I mean, just look at this image. It perfectly captures that feeling, doesn't it? That feeling of being completely swamped by possibility. As the psychologist Barry Schwartz puts it, abundant choice often makes for misery. And that's such a powerful idea because it pretty much challenges everything we've ever been taught about freedom and opportunity.
And this leads us to the central mystery we're unpacking today. Think about it. From what to binge watch next, to what kind of coffee to order, to which career we should pursue, our options have absolutely exploded. So why, with all this supposed freedom, does the data show our well-being seems to be heading in the wrong direction?
Okay, now check out this number. Over a 30-year period where national wealth literally more than doubled, the number of people who describe themselves as very happy actually fell by 5%. This isn't just a feeling, it's a documented trend. More stuff, more choices, it hasn't led to more happiness. So what is going on here?
All right, so to really understand what's happening, we need to dig into a concept called analysis paralysis. This is where the problem really starts to come into focus.
You know that feeling of being completely stuck? That's analysis paralysis. It's when you overthink a situation so much that you just can't move forward. And it's all driven by this deep anxiety, this fear that with so many options, you're bound to pick the wrong one. So what do? You end up picking none at all.
And honestly, nothing makes this clearer than a simple, totally elegant experiment involving jam. Yeah, jam. It might sound kind of trivial, but what these researchers, Sheena Iyengar and Mark Lepper, discovered tells us a really profound story about how our brains actually work.
Okay, so here was the setup. It was super clever. On different days, the researchers set up a tasting table inside a grocery store. One day, they offered a whopping 24 different kinds of jam. On another day, they offered just 6. The question was simple. How would the number of choices affect what people actually did? And the results were, well, they were stunning. The big display, the one with 24 jams, it was definitely more attractive. 60% of people who walked by stopped to take a look. But here's the crazy part. Only 3% of them actually bought a jar. Now compare that to the small display. Fewer people stopped, sure, but of those who did, an incredible 30% made a purchase. Let that sink in for a second. Shoppers were 10 times more likely to actually buy jam when their choice was limited. More choice grabbed their attention, yeah, but less choice is what drove them to action. And that, right there, that's the paradox in a nutshell.
So now that we've seen what happens, let's explore the really interesting part. Why? What is going on inside our minds that makes having too many choices so incredibly stressful?
Well, a big part of the reason is just biological. Our brains, and especially the prefrontal cortex where all the decision-making happens, they just weren't designed for a world of infinite Netflix queues and endless online stores. It's like a phone battery, It operates with a finite amount of energy, a decision bandwidth, and every single choice we make drains it just a little. Now, this mental strain affects people in different ways. Psychologists have kind of broken it down into 2 main types. So, which one are you? On one hand, you've got maximizers. These are the people who are obsessed with finding the absolute best. They'll spend hours researching the perfect toaster. Then you have satisficers. They just aim for good enough. The second they find a toaster that meets their needs, they buy it and they just move on. See, when we have too many choices, we fall into all these little psychological traps. Every option you pick means you have to give up the potential benefits of all the others. That's the pain of opportunity costs. Then there's anticipated regret, that nagging what-if fear that you'll wish you'd chosen differently. Decision fatigue kicks in as your brain's battery just gets drained. And finally, with so many options out there, your expectations for a perfect outcome just get higher and higher, almost impossibly so. And look, this isn't just some abstract problem we're talking about. This constant state of overthinking has real, measurable costs for our lives, our work, and our happiness.
And this is where it gets really serious, because it has a direct link to our mental health. The research is crystal clear. Maximizers, those people who are constantly searching for the absolute best, are significantly more likely to suffer from depression. I mean, when every choice feels like a test you might fail, the cumulative weight of that pressure, it can be absolutely crushing. It also just plain hurts our abilities.
Studies show that all the anxiety from overthinking actually messes with our working memory, making it harder to perform on challenging tasks, and it absolutely kills creativity. In one experiment, the more students were told to consciously think about what they were drawing, the less creative their final picture was judged to be. It's wild.
In fact, the lead researcher from that very study put it so bluntly, I love it. He said, the more you think about it, the more you mess it up. Sometimes our conscious analytical brain just needs to get out of the way.
Okay, so we've diagnosed the problem, and it's a big one. But here is the good news. There are really practical ways to fight back against this, to make better, less stressful choices, and to kind of regain control.
So here are 4 concrete strategies you can literally start using today. First, give yourself a deadline. Artificial constraints force you to make a decision. Second, narrow your options down immediately. Decide on your non-negotiables and just get rid of anything that doesn't fit. Third, practice on the small stuff. Decide quickly where to get dinner to build up that decisiveness muscle for the bigger choices. And fourth, use a simple framework or process to take some of the emotion and the heavy lifting out of it.
And beyond those tactics, there's also a bigger mindset shift, and it's summarized beautifully by Barry Schwartz. You have to embrace the art of being a satisficer. Basically, just learn to accept good enough. Once you've made a choice, consciously focus on what's great about it and stop worrying about all the roads not taken. And for things that really don't matter that much, like buying a new pair of jeans, just make a rule. I'm only going to visit 2 stores, and that's it.
Which brings us to our final thought. For so long, we've been taught that freedom means maximizing our options, having more. But maybe true freedom in our modern world is having the wisdom and the discipline to intentionally limit them. Perhaps the ultimate power, the greatest freedom of all, is learning how to choose less.